Do you ever miss being a developer? Would you?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, do you?
And yeah. Look, many of the developers will tell you I wave my CEO card around and nose my way into all the meetings that they don't really want me to be in, and I offer them all of my advice, much of which was from back in the days when games were black and white, and they go, yes, sir, no, sir, yeah, and just politely usher me along. I do it all the time. I can't help it. I absolutely love what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I would love to, I would really love to spend my time on making a game myself again.
Yeah.
With a small team, and maybe at some point in the future I'll get to that. But today I have to do all of the other stuff as well, so I can be doing board meetings, I'll do the earnings calls, I'll be talking with shareholders and all of the mundane stuff. And then if there's a TOGA Motorsport race on, I can come out of one of those, jump into it quickly and do the race. So I care about this space, and that's the differentiator. And I felt comfortable here because Hayden, that you mentioned, I think he's a great kind of founder for this whole thing, has got the right kind of attitude. And I got talking to him some time ago when I was starting to participate in the community, because I was working with the guys at SimGrid and Dave Carell and the entire gang, and they're amazing people. And that's how I really spotted TOGA Motorsport, and I just started to participate so that I could understand what it was like. Sometimes you kind of climb the ladder and you get taken away from the passion, and you've got that 30,000 foot view of, well, what are the highlights? Why do people participate in these things? What could be done better? And my view has always been to try and participate on the same level. I'm not as fast, but I've got all of the gear and no idea. I've invested into everything, and I've done the same for everything. Like I make flight simulators, and I got a pilot's license, and I absolutely, if I can say it, and kind of I'll choose my words carefully, hated the concept of flying these little planes, and it made me incredibly nervous. But once you get through that, and then you can get a pilot's license, you kind of go, well, these are all the things that happen in flying and piloting and all the world around it. And A, B, and C are the really interesting components that you could turn into an entertainment experience. And it's no different from sim racing and being part of a community, and it's been fascinating for me. So it's entertainment and it's learning. Yeah,
absolutely. And we have so many varying driver skills, competitions. We've got the Rookie Championship, which is just finished, which Steve took part in. There's the Backwards Championship, which is just bizarre and creates so much entertainment from it. We've got the September Showdown. There's so many different things. There's also multi-class coming up as well, which so many people are interested in, but the whole TOGA community is just so friendly, and I mean, I've only been part of it for 3 weeks, maybe a month at the most, and I mean, Hayden, absolutely, his heart is in the whole TOGA brand and TOGA community. That's what he's doing to try and push this along from it. So we are going to kind of move on and see what else. Obviously, you said about the pilot's license and things like that. Do you get flying much, or is it more just a...
No, not at all. No. And my wife keeps reminding me of that, so I think I just had to... She doesn't know today, and she probably won't listen to this podcast, but I just had to pay for the insurance for the plane, and
oh no,
I just finished crying before we started this interview, so yeah, it's nice to say you've got the toys, but I don't have the time for them all. And she's starting to get on my case, saying I'm joining these TOGA Motorsport events too frequently, but it's the point of negotiation.
Well, it is, and everything in life there needs to be a bit of give and take with anything, whether it's business, relationships, or anything else. So you're obviously a very busy man, but do you have any other hobbies or interests out with sim racing?
I do, but I mean, I love flying. Totally into planes. I love boating. sim racing is obviously in there. I have a family who keep me extremely busy, and 2 young daughters who aren't really into sim racing or flying, but like boating.
All right, okay.
And my wife loves traveling, so she probably goes on 100 holidays a year, and I'll try and go on 10 of them if I can find the time. And that plus my work is probably leaves very little. Beyond that. But yeah, I love tech and gadgets and all sorts of things, and I tend to buy everything and don't really use it, and then the cupboards start overflowing with boys' toys that I probably shouldn't have bought in the first place.
Oh God, you sound like you just described my life as well. I need to have that, and then you're like, I don't really need that, but I'll just put it in the cupboard.
Right in front of me, I got one of those Stream Decks.
Right, okay.
I don't think I've ever set up to use it, but I thought it could. There's 1,000 uses for this thing, but it just sits on my desk gathering dust.
I know. It's trying to find a time, because then you're like, I need to learn how to control this, or I need to learn how to set this up, and I don't have time to do that, and I can't use it until I do that. Yeah, I absolutely sympathise with you for that. So I was going to ask how long you've been sim racing, but pretty much all your life by the sounds of it, in one format or another.
Yeah, it depends on every individual's description of sim racing, because you probably wouldn't have called it sim racing when I started, because I started with things like Jeff Crammond's F1 GP Formula 1 Grand Prix back in the day, which must have been 91 or 92 or something. And most people listening to me talk will probably say I wasn't even alive then. But it's kind of this fabled thing, and that got me into kind of gaming in the first place, and certainly racing. And there's various descriptions of what's a sim, what's not a sim. And I grew up playing Gran Turismo games with my brother, and in later years it was Forza, and then some time with RFactor 1, and then here, there, and ever, the old IndyCar game on the Amiga, and so I've been around, and then I made a bunch of racing games. And when you make a load of racing games, you don't feel like playing them all the time. But a
busman's holiday. Almost.
It's been an interest. Yeah, indeed. For a long time, and then seriously got back into sim racing when I was working with the Sim Grid guy, probably last October or something like that.
Right,
or maybe late summer last year. And I was looking at the SimGrid platform and everything that they were doing, and that was, for me, was fascinating, because it really brings like-minded people together.
Yes. Yep.
And that's always been a challenge in sim racing, unless you're doing something like iRacing, but there's probably not a huge sense of community there, whereas I loved what SimGrid were doing.
Yep.
So the real attraction for me was I started recognising people's names in races and go, I know that guy, I know that Hayden guy, I'll probably get him at the next corner, or he'll fall off, or there's a bunch of other people, and that they've also been so helpful.
Yep.
And I like that sense of community. And now they're super popular.
Yeah.
You're referencing the rookie race where there might be like over 30 drivers on the grid, and the balance is going to be trying to keep that community feel.
Yes.
Even though it becomes really popular and everybody's starting to come into the events.
Yeah.
But fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And from speaking and having chats with other people that I've done podcasts with, a lot of them have found TOGA going through SimGrid. So it is an absolute way of finding a community that you can align yourself with, whether it's the rules or whether it's realistic driving and things like that. So absolutely, I mean, I think sim racing isn't about one thing. It's not about one game. It's not about one piece of equipment. It's about a whole thing that you create for yourself. You create a little world, and then you go off and find other people who have that similar kind of world that they have. So you've kind of alluded that you've got all the gear. So are you able to kind of list what equipment you use when you are sim racing?
Well, I'm standing in front of the rig now, actually, as I was wandering around with my headset on talking to you, and it sounds very grand, I don't live in a mansion, but in the utility room of my house, where the washing machine and stuff, and the boiler and all the boring stuff is, I put the sim rig in there because our mother-in-law moved in with us when the war broke out and Russia invaded Ukraine. She came over from Ukraine, and I gave her my office think it should be here for a while, about 18 months later. So one day my wife was at work, I ripped a bunch of the cupboards out of the utility room to make space for the rig.
Nice.
It's one of those, I'm terrible at, I'm terrible at DIY. I'm one of those people who start a job going, I need to do this. And I ripped a couple of cabinets off the wall and thought, I've gone in too deep already. This is going to be a disaster. And if I can get the majority of the way through this before she comes home, it'll be too late and I won't be able to reverse it. Which is exactly what happened. And it looks a bit of a state, but I got away with it. And I've got I originally had like one of those play seat challenge things or something that I got, that gave me years ago for some project I was working on. And I had, what wheel did I have on that? I had like a DSL Elite or something. Isn't that still the belt-driven one? Yeah. And I participated in some of the early TOGA races in that gear that I just had in another office. And I remember in one of the races in particular, I was braking so hard the whole thing detached. And I was having to hold like half the rig together whilst I was braking. It might have been around Barcelona or something, some heavy braking zones. And I thought, this is not going to last. I tried drilling it and modifying it. It was just becoming Frankenstein's monster. So then I resolved to, as I'm going deep into this, if I buy all the fancy gear, I'm bound to be faster. And what has transpired is, I see people with all sorts of rigs that they've made out of matchsticks, and they're much faster than me. So, like I said, all the gear, no idea. I've got a SimLab P1X rig or something, because I reviewed all of those, and it said they were super sturdy, and it's absolutely amazing. It's like there's no flex in that whatsoever, which is great. And what the seat is I've got a red SimLab seat that goes with it. I would argue that's probably not the most comfortable thing I've ever used, but it looked good, and that's what I bought it for. And now I'm paying the price. And I changed the wheel to I sold the CSL Elite and I bought the SimMagic Alpha Mini base, which is tiny, but it's super powerful. I really like that. And an FX Pro wheel, so it's got like the screen on it and everything else. Again, hope my wife doesn't listen to this. Cost a fortune. The LCD display is a total waste of time. I never look at it. You just look at the stuff that's on the screen. And I recently changed the pedals because I heard you referencing it in some of the races. Because I changed from the Fanatec. I got rid of the clutch, and that was great. But I wanted everything inside the same ecosystem. So when it starts up, if there's any problem, you can just modify it in one app. Whereas I was loading, Delta for the coach day stuff. I was loading some Alpha Mini stuff, Fanatec things that always needed updating. I just don't have the time for that. So I put it all in one ecosystem, still getting used to it. I had a few teething problems, but I've got the pedals, I've got the wheel, the base, the seat, they've got the gear, the BCPC, but a tiny 27-inch monitor, really good quality. It's very close to me, but I need to upgrade that next. I can't do three monitors in here that a lot of people like because there just isn't space. It's still a utility room. I have to give room to the washing machine. So in summer it becomes so flaming hot in here with everything on. It's like really racing for real. But first world problems. So I've got all the gear and I love it. And you can go down a rabbit's hole with all of that stuff, can't you? Like I want to upgrade this, I want to change to that, and people become tribal. And
they do, and
not much this week.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got the G29 wheel at the moment, and I'm looking at direct drive wheels, and I'm like, there's so much choice. I don't even know where to start. Whereas a few years ago, Fanatec was about the only company really that was strong in the market. So it is absolutely a rabbit hole. And then it's like upgrading a PC. You upgrade one part, and then there's a bottleneck there now. So I need to go and sort that out. Absolutely. But it sounds amazing. And there is always a saying that everyone should remember: it's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
You're very right. However, I still hurriedly, when the deliveries come, make sure everything's unpacked and the packaging is burnt before the wife gets home. I make her sound like a monster, but
no.
she's she'd probably correct me and say, "What are you spending all this money on these things for? And starting in 35th in your upcoming race, what's the point?" But there you go. She would have a point. I just don't want to hear it.
I know. Well, that's it. Sometimes the truth does hurt, so it's sometimes better not hearing it. Obviously, you've been racing with Aston Martin. Is Aston Martin your favourite ACC car?
Yeah. What did I start with? I think I started with the original Lambo, and that was a bit of a boat. And then I probably Mercedes. I spent a bit of time in. I really like that as well.
Yep.
I like the kind of big bruisers, and I don't like the McLaren because it sounds like a sewing machine to me. I don't like, everybody jump into the Ferrari because it's the new car. I like to be a bit left field. It's my excuse for why I'm at the back, And some of the TOGA races, they did some particular events, and I could choose the old 2012 Jag, which is a nightmare to drive, but it sounds amazing, and I love kind of just hustling that around the track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I like those left field things with a bit more power. But now I'm starting to think, well, do I change cars to try and get further up the grid and be more competitive?
Yep.
But then I see people like, is it Peter Romeo who's been running? I'm thinking, I need to change cars. He comes in and just flipping lands it on pole or something and wins in the Aston. There's my excuse. It's gone.
I know.
Driver skill.
I mean, Peter last night got knocked down into 25th and finished 9th. Just what a drive he had from that. But I absolutely get what you mean. Arnold, the head steward within TOGA, has not forced me, but kind of forced my hand. Because I've got a Mercedes in real life, he wants me to drive the Mercedes in the game. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So I'm going to stick to it. And obviously we have our punishment. If we do reach 2,500 subs on YouTube by the end of the year, myself and Ollie are going to do a 6-hour race in the Jag, which is going to be utterly hell on earth. But
I saw that. I saw that this morning when I was having my morning coffee and just reading through the commentary. And is that just the two of you in a 6-hour race, or is it open to everybody?
It's open to everybody. We'll be racing against other members in the community. We haven't set up a track yet, and I severely hope it's not Bathurst, because that was the worst track of my life for me. But it'll be open for anyone to join us. I'll be streaming on my Twitch with my field of view. I dare say the TOGA will have their stream going as well, and I don't know if Ollie's maybe going to stream as well, so you'll be able to see the pain and punishment that we go through on different angles and different places all over the track. So, but it'll be open to everybody, so it'll be good to race against so many people.
Just don't make it Kyalami. Just make it one of the about 3 or 4 tracks that I know, and it'll be great.
Yep. So let's cancel Bathurst and Kyalami. Let's just delete it from ACC altogether and we'll be fine.
It's a challenging track. Yeah. Oh,
it is, absolutely. Talking about tracks, do you have a favourite track or one that you feel you're faster on?
There's the ones that I feel faster about. Unfortunately, they're really kind of mainstream, boring stuff that you see in all the public lobbies, which is probably because the public lobbies are always Spa Monza. It fits in with my schedule, and the kids are in bed. Between a meeting or something, I can jump on for a 20-minute race, and so I've got the most fun there. Monza is okay, but it's probably a bit overused and somewhat simplistic. I really love Spa, and more recently, because of the TOGA races, I love Imola as well. Which is quite crazy to me, because I'm sure Imola was in, Jeff Cramer's Grand Prix back in the days, and now I'm playing it in ACC in 2023 with all this gear. How times have changed.
I know, it's bizarre how life kind of twists you around to an alternate universe from that. So you're obviously in the Rookie Championship, or you were, it's now finished. Are you in any of the other championships in TOGA?
You mentioned Backwards Championships. I'm in that one. So the better you qualify, the further you are down the back of the grid, and you have to fight your way through. That's always entertaining as well. I think I was doing okay in that in the last up to the last round, which was Zolder. And I didn't have a great qualifying, because I think I managed to get a lap or 2 in, and that was it. in queue, so I was at the front, then I got wiped out on the restart or something. Sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it goes against you.
Yep.
And I've dropped down the order, but I'm still hoping to place well in that. Yeah, the thing is, it's like it's not just the race result or beating the guy in front of you, because we always get that kind of red mist. You want to hunt them down and overtake them, but the whole TOGA concept of that community, recognisable faces, a code towards driving, which prevents, for the most part, the challenges that you have in public lobbies where you feel like everybody's kamikaze.
Yep, absolutely.
It is much contained in TOGA, but also the added layer that you've been contributing towards, which has taken it up another level in my mind, is the commentary. And it sounds so geeky, and I will admit this, but it's so cool to like do well in the race or something, and then feature for a few seconds in the broadcast. Yeah. You feel like sharing this to friends and family, and they'll say, "What are you smoking? Why are you doing this?" But it's your moment of fame,
absolutely.
I see a lot of people saying, "I can't wait to watch the race back" after they've participated
That's
in it.
right.
So, it's amazing. It's great fun. It's great entertainment.
I actually have been practicing this morning because I've signed up to season 6 of the rookie championships. Ollie's very kindly said he'll commentate for the Wednesdays. So I've been practicing this morning, and it was actually going through my head, wow, I could actually be racing in a race and have someone commentating and be seen for a couple of seconds. And I'm like, I never thought how that feels to be a driver before. So it absolutely is. And as you say, you actually get to know people. Certainly from me doing the podcast, I've very kindly been able to meet a lot of people who I knew the names, but I didn't have a voice to go with it. And I'm like, all right, so in future I can say, Steve instead of, Hood or things like that. And it adds a little bit of personal touch to it. I mean, it's just such a good community. And as you said, you're racing against people where you start getting trust with each other, because you're like, I know he's not going to send it down there, but he might get me here instead. And you don't have a torpedo going down the into turn 1. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a torpedo.
You recognise the names, and then there's the kind of like you're saying, like the gentlemanly kind of conduct on the track for the most part. People still call me out and say, "Why the hell did you smash me off?" or "It was your fault rather than mine." And sometimes it is, because it's all about awareness at the moment in time. Or you can make a mistake, but it wasn't intentional. But having the stewarding as well is awesome, because for the most part, I think it tempers that. Although it's breaking out a little bit recently, but it's very interesting to watch. Everybody has their own perspective, and you can watch the same kind of replay footage and go, well, it wasn't my fault, was it?
That's right.
Despite the fact that you launched it over a curb, went flying through the air and just smashed into a bunch of guys going into T1.
That's it.
It wasn't your fault.
No.
Leave it to the stewards. And at least you can appeal those things.
Yes.
It's very well organised.
And there's obviously other leagues that do have stewards, but it's normally only the top tier that would have live stewarding. So having spoken to some of the stewards as well, it's enlightening to see what they actually have to go through, because I never realised the things a steward has to do. And I mean, last night, I can't even remember what Ollie said, was that in 10 seconds there was 18 contacts between cars or something. So having to wade through all that, and then, as you say, we're all sim racers, we're all drivers, we all want to race against each other, but you then get the red mist and you're like, God, he took me out. And it's only when you calm down and you're not actually communicating with the person that was driving, you're going, all right, do you know what, it actually doesn't matter. Or, it was actually a racing incident, or things like that. I've done it myself, where I've raced and I've thought, oh my God, he's taken me out. And then I look and I've actually just drifted the car towards him. I'm like, oh, right, okay, that was my fault. So you're absolutely right.
Yes.
It's such a unique aspects to TOGA for that. If there was a championship that you could create with kind of any rules, is there anything that would spring to mind for you? Obviously, you've spoken about the backwards championship, was a reverse grid from qualifying, but is there anything you think you could create championship wise?
The thing that I was going to propose more recently, but I feel as though the planets have aligned now, is I really liked in the early days of TOGA when I first joined. I think there was a multi-class championship.
Yep.
So you had the GT3s and GT4s in there, which was super cool.
Yes.
Although 99.9% recurring of the time, I'll pick the GT3 because it's faster, and then there's a few of us stragglers in the GT4s.
Yeah.
And I see Hayden signed up for it, and he's picked, of all things, I think the Maserati, which is probably one of the hardest cars to drive. And I love, being a bit left field, but he's a glutton for punishment for that one.
Yeah.
So I've picked the Camaro in there.
Yep.
And SimGrid's now got some, far more advanced, elaborate, integrated system around multi-class racing with different points allocations and all sorts in championship tables. So that will be really cool to see how that plays out. For me, it's all about, going back to Le Mans, I love that concept of the multi-class stuff.
Yes.
That is really interesting. So you've got to watch the traffic that you're chasing and the traffic that's coming up behind you and all sorts. And
absolutely,
you've got to keep your wits about you. So I love stuff like that, and I like driving some of the less mainstream cars. Which is always cool.
Absolutely. I wonder if they'll ever do a one manufacturer or one car kind of race where everyone's in the same car. Obviously, you can alter setups, but technically you're just driving the same car with everyone as well. But the multi-class, I absolutely love the idea of, and I'm so excited. I hope it goes ahead because I'll be so excited to commentate over it. So
right.
I have taken up far enough of your time. You have plenty of other things to be doing, so just absolutely thank you so much for giving your time, for being talking about your career and about the game developers as well. It's been so interesting for me, and hopefully the listeners will be as well for that. So thank you very much, Steve. I much appreciate it.
No worries, anytime. Thank you. I'll go back to the day job now. I'll go back to the mundane stuff.
Okay, right. Take care, Steve.
See you on track.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's something different, and we do have a couple of other people lined up who have quite interesting jobs in relation to sim racing. So again, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You can become a member for £2.99. If you're listening to Spotify or any other podcast streams, then please just make sure you're following us, and we will be back every Monday 5 PM a new episode releases. Until then, take care. Bye bye.